Well, we're a couple of minutes after 1 now, so we're going to go ahead and dive in and get started talking all about the power of recurring income. We're glad you've taken an hour or so to join us today and talk through this very important subject that's critical to any freelance web developer or anyone at all running a web business. My name is Nathan Ingram, and I am the host at iThemes Training. iThemes is a liquid web company, and we are really happy to be here for my first webinar here with Liquid Web. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, where I've been a web business owner since 1995. I usually start out presentations like this with some sort of a slide that talks about what it means to be an expert in the field, and really being an expert in the field means that you have made every conceivable mistake so that there are no more to be made. And that's kind of what I bring to the table today. I've probably made every mistake there is to make in running a WordPress business. And if I can help you avoid some of those and maybe steer around some of the potholes that are in the way of just about everybody trying to run a WordPress business, then that's why I'm here, and that's what I love to do. I'm also a business coach for WordPress freelancers, and I love to help freelancers succeed in their business. So you can find me on Twitter at Nathan Ingram, or there on nathaningram.com. So again, we're going to spend the next hour or so talking all about recurring revenue and why that's so important in a web business. And I'm going to give you some very practical steps and tools to start building a recurring revenue stream in your business. Now, throughout the presentation today, if you have a question, just drop that in the questions area. I'll do my best to watch that and answer those questions as we go. And then as we wrap up today, we'll also take some time for Q&A as we're closing down. Now, everyone here will have access to the recording of this webinar as well. That'll go out to you in an email tomorrow once the video gets all set up and all those things are put together. So you'll get a link with the recording of this video as well, along with a link talking about our next webinar coming up a week from today. So let's dive in and first of all start talking about why recurring income is critical to a business. And if I had to sum everything up in one statement, it would read something like this. Recurring income is the foundation of a successful freelance business. It's my opinion that it's virtually impossible to survive as a freelancer without it. So whether you consider yourself a freelancer, solopreneur, or maybe you have a WordPress business with a few employees or a few regular contractors, wherever you are in that scenario, even if you're part of an agency with many, many employees, it is virtually impossible to survive long-term without some sort of recurring revenue as part of your business model. It's virtually impossible to survive without it. Now here's why. Without recurring income, you are totally dependent on consistent sales for survival. Now here's what I've learned about people in the WordPress business space. Most of us got into this thing because we enjoy the building of the website. We like learning new things, and we like, fiddling around with the technical aspects of building a website and, maybe manipulating some code or some CSS to make a website do exactly what we want it to do. And we're good at that. We enjoy it. But we struggle with actually getting out there and selling to clients. Now, if you don't have some sort of recurring revenue stream, you've got to have consistent sales just to pay the bills. And that's really hard for most of us to do. Also, if you don't have recurring income, you're really at the client's mercy to supply the content and the assets for the website so you can finish the job and get paid. And if you're completely dependent on having to build and sell projects to survive, it is really hard to control your revenue stream when you're not really in control of when a web project gets finished because the clients delay. And if you're like most freelancers out there or most WordPress business owners, we are all struggling to get the client to submit the content on time. That is a consistent struggle that just about everybody building WordPress websites for clients faces. So if you don't have some sort of recurring revenue stream to supply at least some income during those times where you're waiting, things can get really tight financially. You find yourself living project to project. And that's just not a lot of fun for anybody. See, without recurring income, you're really freelancing without a safety net. And the challenging thing is, even if you had a fantastic year last year and you did 6 figures of business and you rocked it, come January 1, if you don't have recurring revenue, you're starting out at 0 again. And that's true every single year. So without recurring revenue, it makes it very difficult to find long-term success. Now, here's something else that I think is a byproduct of people trying to function without recurring revenue. And I hear this a lot. I speak at lots of WordCamps around the country. I speak to lots of freelancers around the country and some around the world. And a lot of folks, I hear this a lot, many people have the idea that, I just want to build a website. I don't want to try to fool with maintaining a website. I don't want to get into hosting client websites. I just want to build the website and move along. And that's well and good, aside from the fact that it can cause a real problem. There's something that I call the disappearing web developer syndrome. Now, how many of you perhaps have encountered this? A client calls you and their web developer has disappeared into thin air. Chances are, if you've been building websites for clients, you've experienced this phenomenon of the disappearing web developer. They're around, they built the site for the client, maybe they hung around for a few months after that, and now they are nowhere to be found. They have vanished. They are invisible. They're gone. And I wonder if one of the reasons that the disappearing web developer syndrome is so prominent is that these folks are trying to run a business without recurring revenue. And they build websites, and all of a sudden they're not selling enough websites, and they end up going to work for some company, building websites for a company, and their clients are left on the hook because this developer could not sustain their business. It is virtually impossible to sustain your business long term without some sort of recurring revenue. So, I want to spend a little time establishing a mindset for recurring revenue, because just getting this foundational principle into our head as being absolutely necessary to a successful business is, in my opinion, critical. Now, I was really fortunate early on in my business history to have been mentored by my next door neighbor, who was an entrepreneurial person. He was one of these guys that everything he touched just sort of turned to gold. He was involved in lots of different businesses over the time that I've known him, and all of them have been very successful. He just has that touch. And when I was first starting in the web business, he was actually in the web business as well, and he sort of got me started in the business. And he asked me a question one day when he saw that I was building websites and charging a fee, and that was really kind of it. He said, "Listen, is every dollar worth the same to you? Is every dollar worth the same?" And of course, at face value, you say, well, yes, of course. Every dollar is worth $1. So maybe every dollar is worth the same, but some dollars are more valuable than other dollars. Because the more predictable a dollar is, the more valuable it becomes. So yes, the dollars that I was getting for building web projects were good, but the dollars I could charge for maintenance of those web contracts, those $100, $200, $300 a month retainers to manage a website, those dollars, I learned, were infinitely more valuable than the one-time project dollars. Because every month that $100 would come in, every month. That $200 would come in month after month after month. And that becomes infinitely more valuable because it's more predictable. Business models based on recurring revenue are superior to those that are based on just having repeat customers or just selling things one-off, one at a time. For example, have you seen these two companies before? Most of you have probably heard of Blockbuster Video, and you've probably all heard of Netflix. Both of them were in the business of providing video to customers, movies, recorded video content. But there's a big difference in the business models of Blockbuster and Netflix. Blockbuster's business model was based on repeat sales. You'd come back, and I remember as a kid, we'd go out on Friday nights to the Blockbuster and pay a couple bucks and rent a video or rent a stack of videos for Friday and Saturday. Then you have to go bring them back to the Blockbuster. That was sort of a ritual in my house for a long time. But Netflix is different, right? Because they came in and said, no, you pay us $6, $7, $8, $10, $12 a month, every month, and you get access to unlimited video streaming. So Blockbuster had a business model based on repeat sales. Netflix was based on recurring income. Where are they today? Blockbuster's dead. Netflix growing month by month. Recurring revenue businesses are where you'll find stability. How about this? How in the world do car dealerships survive? I mean, really, how often do you buy a car? Most of us probably buy a car every, maybe several years. So how does a car dealer survive? If all they did was sell automobiles, how could they survive? What you actually find as you dig under the surface at most car dealerships is the way most of these dealers survive is the service department. Recurring revenue stream. See, there are some great benefits to recurring revenue. If you will add into your business model streams of recurring revenue, what you'll find is that your income becomes more consistent, and that will create stability in your freelance finances. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been in business since 1995. That's when I built and sold my first website. I've been doing this a long time. And what I've learned over the years is that my income, as much as I've tried to predict trends, my income is completely unpredictable. There will be some months where I am out of sight financially. I mean, I'm killing it. But there are other months where we're just not selling any websites. But because I've spent the time over the years to build a consistent recurring revenue stream, it has created it's created stability in my freelance finances when other parts of it were up and down. The other thing that recurring income can bring is not only that it's more consistent income, it brings more profitable relationships. Because when you engage your clients on a monthly basis with a service that you're providing to them every month, you begin to become positioned as a partner to your clients, not just a vendor. And that's a huge mentality shift in the mind of the client. When they don't see you as a vendor anymore and they see you as a partner in the success of their business, because every month you're bringing them value, it becomes a lot more difficult for them to switch away from you to some other service. Or it also positions you for additional add-on services. You develop some new service, and here's a whole selection of customers that you can then go to because you have an ongoing relationship with them. It also makes it a lot easier to both ask for and receive referrals because you have active customers that you're working with. There's a lot of reasons to build into your business a recurring income stream. So the question is, how do you do that? How do you create services for recurring income? Now, you're on this webinar probably because you're a web developer working with clients in some way, and you're hosting with a fantastic company, Liquid Web. And hopefully most of you are working with WordPress. That's where most of my websites are built. All of my websites since 2010 have been in WordPress. So what does it look like to build recurring revenue in a WordPress business? Let me suggest some elements for an effective WordPress care plan. And these are things that you can do right away. If you're a web developer working with clients, this is the place to start to build a recurring revenue stream. I'm going to suggest 4 elements, and we'll spend a little bit of time on each: hosting, backups, WordPress updates, and WordPress security. All 4 of these things are needed by every single WordPress client that you serve. So why not provide them? Let's start off with hosting. Why should you offer hosting services? Now, when I talk to freelance web developers or people running some sort of WordPress business, I get oftentimes a lot of pushback on, oh no, I don't want to offer hosting services to my clients. But if you don't, it's my opinion that you're leaving money on the table. Every single website that you build needs hosting. And you've built the client relationship, so why not profit from that relationship that you've built? Plus, if you're offering hosting, it's better for the client because there's one person to call and there's no blaming back and forth between you and the web host. Clients hate that. They would much rather partner with a one-stop shop that offers everything they need, not only the building of the website, but the management of the website long-term. Also, the kind of clients that want that service are ones that generally value you more and are not going to nickel and dime you on the web project. They simply want a trustworthy partner that can help them build, manage, maintain, optimize their website on the long term. Also, you control the environment. You know, when you're hosting on your own server, you become more productive because there's no surprises. You know how things work. I can't tell you how many times I tried to build a website and then go push it out to the client's provided web host, and there were problems when we tried to launch the site because that web host did things in a weird way. But when you're hosting on your own servers, in an environment that you control and that you're familiar with, you become much more productive. But ultimately, if you don't do this, you're leaving money on the table because every website you build has to be hosted. So why not profit from that? So my suggestion is you want to partner with a web host that has phenomenal support. And that, of course, is Liquid Web. Now, granted, I'm on Liquid Web doing a webinar for them today talking about hosting. And yes, I'm going to say Liquid Web is the best. But let me tell you this. I've been a customer of Liquid Web for almost 5 years now. Now, I've been the host at iThemes Training for a while, and iThemes is a Liquid Web company, but my relationship with Liquid Web goes years before iThemes even had a relationship with Liquid Web. Liquid Web has been my host of choice for many, many years now, simply because their support is phenomenal. I am constantly amazed with the level of quality of support that I receive from the technicians at Liquid Web. It is absolutely unbelievable. There's a lot of options that Liquid Web offers depending on how you want to structure the hosting side of your business. Now, for many of you, if you're comfortable managing websites yourself and you're a pretty technical person, then the VPS or dedicated server route is a great way to resell space to clients and make some money. Now, if you're not as comfortable on the technical side and you'd rather have somebody else handle the management side, then the Liquid Web Managed WordPress offering is perfect for you. And there's lots of options with Liquid Web, by the way, and they're very talented consultants that can work with you to help you find exactly the right solution for your business. So I would encourage you to reach out to sales and make sure that you're in the right hosting package, or try to find a good fit for the way you are hosting clients on Liquid Web. Now, here's something you may not be aware of. Liquid Web recently began a partner program for web professionals. Now, they let you do things a couple of different ways. You can refer your clients to a Liquid Web plan, or you can host your clients on your own Liquid Web server. You can do either or both. You can refer some clients to Liquid Web and just let Liquid Web handle all of their tech support and billing and all of that, or you can have your own server at the same time. They'll do this in a way that works best for you. It's an incredibly strong program. It's one of the best I've seen in the industry for partnering with a web host to deliver services to clients. And all the services that Liquid Web offers are wrapped up in this, whether it's managed WordPress, managed WooCommerce, VPS or dedicated servers, all the different options that Liquid Web offers, you can take advantage of within this partner program. And you get paid for this. You get to choose how you're paid. You can get a monthly residual that's based on your volume and a percentage, or you can get 1 times the monthly revenue. So 100% of the first month goes to you as an incentive for moving that client over to Liquid Web. Now, there's also a deal right now, by the way, that in addition to whichever of these options you choose, they're going to give you an additional 1x revenue bonus for anything you bring to the partner program through May. So this is a really good opportunity to make some money referring clients or setting up your own hosting environment in Liquid Web. And if you want more information about that, the URL is kind of long, but it's liquidweb.com, partner program, web professional. And it's easy to find, really. If you go to the Liquid Web website, you simply click partners and web professional, and there's a whole page that'll talk you through all the specifics of that offer. I'd encourage you to look at that, because the most important thing you can do to build a recurring revenue stream for your clients is to offer hosting and website management services. And the foundation of that kind of service is a great host. And Liquid Web for me has been that partner for many years, simply because I know that if I get into a technical situation that I can't figure out, there's going to be somebody really smart on the other end of the phone, or a chat, or a support ticket to help me figure out the problem. And they have done that without exception for the last several years. Can't recommend Liquid Web enough. Okay, so once you get your hosting squared away, we need to look at the second element of this recurring revenue plan, and that is backups. WordPress needs to be backed up. It needs to be backed up regularly. That way, just in case something bad happens, maybe the client destroys something in the site, or maybe you make a mistake, or maybe there's a hack and the website gets defaced in some way, you've always got a good backup to restore. Now, however you decide to host on Liquid Web, there's a great solution for that. If you're using the Liquid Web Managed WordPress or Managed WooCommerce, it includes automatic daily off-site backups of your whole website. So that's built in. If you want to go the VPS or dedicated route, iThemes, a Liquid Web company, has the leading backup solution for WordPress, which is Backup Buddy. And you can set Backup Buddy up to do automatic off-site backups. And I was able to get a coupon code for you guys if you're interested in Backup Buddy or any of the iThemes products. It's this ITLW 35% off any of these things I'm going to talk about today. So having a great backup so that just in case something happens, you can roll back is a critical part of this foundational recurring revenue plan based on WordPress management. Now, also built into this, we need to offer some sort of WordPress update services where we're keeping the core WordPress files, our themes, and our plugins up to date and secure. Because a WordPress site that is not up to date and that contains themes or plugins that have security vulnerabilities, this is a major way that WordPress websites are being hacked today. So keeping the site up to date is critical. Now again, if you are in the managed WordPress option with Liquid Web, that happens automatically. You don't have to think about it. If you are going a VPS or dedicated route, iThemes Sync is a dashboard that lets you manage all of your WordPress websites that you control. So you can do one-click updates on all your sites all at the same time. And again, there's a coupon code for you if you want to take advantage of that. So setting up a great host, setting up an ongoing backup, setting up a regular WordPress update. By the way, I typically do a daily full backup of every site that I manage, and I also do a weekly WordPress update with themes, plugins, and core WordPress of every site I manage. That's the regular way we handle things in my business. Now, the last element in this care plan is security. An SSL certificate and a security plugin. Now again, Liquid Web offers everything you need to make this happen. Let's Encrypt free SSL certificates are available on Liquid Web Managed WordPress and VPS Dedicated. It's all there, and you can take advantage of free SSL using the Let's Encrypt system. Now, iThemes, again, a Liquid Web company, offers iThemes Security Pro, which is a leading WordPress security plugin. I run iTheme security on all my websites. It keeps them safe and secure, locks down all the holes that are in WordPress that need to be dealt with. And it's a simple setup to get that up and running. And again, there's a coupon code if you'd like to take advantage of that. Now, where does this leave us? You can put these 4 elements together and build an incredibly effective and sellable WordPress care plan. You set up your hosting, backup, WordPress updates, and WordPress security. You put those 4 things together and you have something to sell to clients. And really, what you're selling is peace of mind so that your clients don't have to worry about their websites. I mean, even if something bad happens, you've got a backup you can restore. That has incredible value for clients. Just simply to know that no matter what, you've got their back. Now, the WordPress Care Plan is the foundation of a recurring revenue stream for your business. But there are plenty of other services that you can create as well, depending on what your skill sets are. Or if you have other people you partner with that you could join with to create additional services for your clients. Now, there's 3 basic questions you need to ask when you're thinking about other kinds of services to offer your clients. First of all, what is it that they actually need? What services can I create to meet those needs? And then what resources do I need to perform those services? So what are the needs? What services can I meet those needs? And then how do I put those services together? Those are 3 basic questions. Now, what I want to do now is give you a tool, or actually a couple of tools, to help you brainstorm and think through the creation of additional services for clients. Now, you can download these worksheets at nathaningram.com/ASG. That'll get you the Advanced Services Generator and Advanced Services Planner. Now, this comes out of my coaching program, and these tools are free for you to use, and hopefully they'll help you generate some recurring revenue in your business. So this is what you'll get if you download those. It's a free download. Just click the link, and it'll download right to your browser. There's 2 different worksheets. There's 6 pages, but 2 different worksheets. The first page here, this is the printable. This is the services generator, and here's how it works. The second page gives you a little bit of instructions. Start to fill in this table. And ask yourself, who is the customer? What kind of customer are we dealing with? What is the work this customer is trying to accomplish? I'm going to give you an example of this in just a second. What is the work this customer needs to have accomplished? What are the gains if this work was done effectively? What would the customer gain? And then what pains does the customer have while trying to accomplish this work? And then your solution. How can you address the customer's pains in this work so that the gains are realized? All right? So this kind of gives you a list. You can start thinking through each of your customer segments that you serve. What's something they're trying to do? What would they gain if they accomplished it? What are the pains they experience along the way? And then how can you help in the process? Now, let's look at a couple of examples of this. Let me zoom in here just a little bit. Our first example is just a typical small business. So a small business, what do they need? And this is where this line is going to represent what we just talked about with our WordPress care plan. Well, a small business with a WordPress website has a need to keep WordPress and plugins up to date. I mean, we know how important that is, right? WordPress needs to be up to date. That's just the way it is. So the gains, well, their site stays secure and it performs at the optimal level when it stays up to date, right? So this is the work. These are the gains. Now, what are the pains that the typical customer experiences along the way? Well, I hear from my clients all the time, they're afraid to hit the update button because they're not quite sure what's going to happen if they update this software on WordPress. Or, quite frankly, they just forget to check if updates are needed, right? I mean, how many of you have had clients where you log into their site and they're supposed to be keeping WordPress up to date and there's like 30 updates there, and you mention it to them and they think, oh, I've forgotten to log in and check. So we know it's important to do updates, but customers are afraid to do it or they forget to do it. So what do? We're going to offer Managed WordPress to update services for client websites. So that's how that one works, right? So we figure out what do they need to do, What do they get as a gain if that work is accomplished? What are the obstacles in the way of them doing it? And then what can we do to make it easier? Let's give you another example here. Here's an example that centers around nonprofit organizations and what do nonprofits need to do. The work they need to do is, if you know anything about nonprofits, it is incredibly important to communicate with their current and potential donors about their work. That's how they get most of their money, is donors. And so they need to communicate with the donors of what's going on. Now, what gains would they realize if this work was completed well? Well, there'd be excitement in the donor base. There'd be an increase in donation level, most likely, and activating new donors. So when people start talking about the great work this nonprofit is doing, it's going to make existing donors give more, and it might encourage new donors to start giving where they haven't already. Now, what are the pains that a typical nonprofit experiences while trying to regularly communicate? Well, if you know anything about small nonprofits, and I've spent a lot of time in the nonprofit world, small nonprofits simply lack staff with adequate skill or training. They know they need to be communicating better and more regularly. They just don't have time. Or they don't have people with the skills to do it. Or, this is a good one, they have trouble keeping the message and brand of the nonprofit consistent. Because with a lot of small nonprofits, what happens is they just let anybody who's willing to help. And when you have 5 or 6 different people communicating on social media or in email marketing or whatever, it always looks different and sounds different because most small nonprofits don't have consistent branding. So, it's important that we communicate well. It's going to reap benefits if we do, but we really struggle to make it happen. So, us as a web professional come in and say, look, we can help you by offering an email marketing service to plan a message calendar and create emails that are coordinated with web content. Now that sounds like a really good service that a nonprofit could take advantage of. All right, so here's my encouragement to you. Print out a blank sheet, this first page here, unplug, get away from screens, go sit in some place where you can focus. Maybe it's a coffee shop, maybe it's your back porch, maybe it's, a little cafe or wherever it is that you can focus and just start filling out this sheet for every customer segment that you have. What is the work they need to accomplish? What are the gains that they would realize if they accomplish the work? What are the pains that get in the way? And then what are some solutions you could bring to the table to do the work for them? Okay? This is the generator. This is where it's a brainstorming canvas, like I say here, to just think through some services you could provide to clients. Now, once you get that put together, we go down to the second worksheet, which is the services planner. This one's printable. And let's look at the instructions. So what we're going to do, we're going to give this new service a name up here, and then who's the customer segment it's targeted for. That's going to go up here. Then we're going to write a 1-sentence description of the service in this box. The next thing we're going to do is drop right down here to the center, and we're going to start listing the value propositions of this service. What is the value this service brings to the customer segment? Why would customers select our service over competing choices? Which of the customer's needs will this help to meet? Now, what you're doing in this middle box is you're taking the stuff that you've already thought through here in the gains and pains, and you're bringing those into a list here in the second box. Now, once we have a list of value propositions, what we're going to do is jump over here to the top left box. These are the key activities. What do I need to do to actually pull this stuff off? What are the specific tasks I need to perform? Then I'm going to go down to this bottom box and, okay, what are the resources I need to perform these activities? What roles do I need to perform? Do I need to hire contractors? Are there tools that need to be found or developed? Are there third-party services I need to realize? So once I've fleshed all this out, I'm going to move over here into the cost and revenue blocks. What are the costs that are involved to me to provide this service to customers? And by the way, don't forget to include your own time over here. And down at the bottom, how am I going to price this service for the customer? So based on everything I've figured out so far, how much cost it's involved, how much time is involved, how am I going to price this for the customer? And then maybe even consider multiple price points based on different levels of services. So let's do an example. So we're going to pull that nonprofit service I talked about just a minute ago into this services planner as an example. And what is this? We're going to call it Donor Reach, and it's going to be targeted to small and medium-sized nonprofits, because large nonprofits probably already have in-house people to do this. But small and medium ones, small ones definitely don't. Medium ones might not. So that's who we're going to target with this. So what are we going to do? The description of our Donor Reach service is an email marketing service for nonprofit organizations that helps them maintain compelling communication with their donor base. All right, so that's the service in a sentence. Now let's go down here to our value propositions box. Here's what we know. And again, we've pulled stuff and amplified stuff that was in the original worksheet. Well, we know that nonprofits are understaffed and rarely have manpower or expertise to maintain consistent strategic communications. That's something we can help them solve. Another value is, I'm going to be there. I'm a local professional they can meet with face-to-face. We can help them create and execute a planned message calendar. We can help generate professional copy designed to engage potential donors. We can coordinate this with website content that is then shareable to social media to supplement email and provide additional calls to action. And then we can do reporting to show the effectiveness of the program. So there's our value propositions. This sounds like a pretty good service, and it's something that nonprofits would really be all over. Now, what are the activities that I need to do to actually pull off these value propositions? Well, first of all, we're going to need a planned strategy meeting that involves me and a copywriter to assemble the message calendar with the client. Then we're going to need to create the email copy. Then we're going to need to create the supplementary web content that has calls to action. Then we need to create a tracking report. So these 4 things are what I need to do to pull off everything we've listed here in the value proposition. So what are the resources I'm going to need? Well, I'm going to need an email marketing platform, maybe MailChimp or Constant Contact. I'm going to need an account manager. That's probably going to be me right now. I'm going to need a copywriter to help me out. I'm going to need a website manager, which is, again, probably me right now. And I'm going to need some sort of analytics or reporting platform. So these are the things I need to put together in order to actually make this service work. So we've gotten a pretty good way here. We've gotten our value propositions listed out and why they would want to choose this service. We know what we have to do in order to pull this thing off. We now know the resources we need to leverage in order to make this service work. Now let's go over here to our costs and revenue. Now there's some costs involved. We're going to need an email platform, and we're going to get the client to sign up for their own account. So they own the account. And oh, by the way, Constant Contact has nonprofit pricing, so that's good to know. So we're going to need this email platform, and that cost is going to be involved. We're going to hire a copywriter who's going to charge us $35 an email. Or maybe it's more, maybe it's less. Depends on the copywriter you can hire. Eventually, the cost is going to be needed for an account manager. Maybe the copywriter could play that role. And a website manager, because I don't want to be involved in this service forever. I'd love this to run on its own, so we can bring other people in to help us with this. So that's how our cost structure is going to shape up. And now let's look at the revenue structure. And we're going to offer 3 options. Our first option is a quarterly email, which means there's an annual meeting we'll have with a client to plan out the 4 messages for the year and deliver an annual report. That'll cost the nonprofit $650 a year. There's a monthly option where we have a quarterly meeting to plan strategy and a monthly email that goes out and a monthly report. That'll cost them $250 a month. Or there's a weekly option where we meet each month. We create a weekly email and a weekly report, and that's going to cost them $8.25 a month. So see how this works out? Right here now on one page, you have your entire service planned. You know how much it's going to cost. You know what your to-do list is to put things together. And right here in this middle box, this is an excellent start for copy for your own website or emails that go out describing this service. So again, my encouragement to you would be to print out a couple of these worksheets of the blanks versions and go somewhere away from your computer so you're not distracted by emails popping in or clients, different notifications here and there. Turn off your phone and just spend an hour or two thinking through the services that you could offer to your clients. Now, because if you do this and you start building a whole list of recurring revenue sources, these start to build one client at a time, one after the other, one on top of the other, and that recurring revenue stream starts growing larger and larger and larger month by month. And when you do that, again, it starts bringing consistency to your finances, and it stops you from having to be so dependent on producing sales in order to survive. So use those tools, and I'd love to hear from you if those are helpful to you. All right. So let's move on to the next section. How do you price services for recurring income? And I want to focus again back where we started, which is the website care package. That's really the foundation of a recurring revenue stream. There are lots of different services you can imagine, from email marketing to copywriting to, you name it. There are all kinds of things you could provide. Video, graphic design and logo creation, whatever it is you can do. You can create lots of different things, but the website management plan is the core. It's the foundation for every web business, in my opinion. That's where it all starts. So how do you price that sort of a package? Now, it's a challenge for everybody, dialing in your pricing and figuring out what that ought to look like. But one rule of thumb is that your website price affects your care plan price. So in other words, you can't charge $100 a month for a care plan if you're building websites that you're selling for $1,200. Just not going to work. So what I'm going to offer you here on the next slide is a starting point. Now, these are not hard and fast rules. There are not hard and fast rules in this game. These are guidelines, they're suggestions, they're a starting point. This is a best guess. So if you're selling websites under $2,000, by the way, you probably need to raise your price, but a decent monthly care plan option ought to start somewhere around $47 a month if you're selling websites that are $2,000 or below. That's a best guess on my part. Now, if you're in the $2,000 to $3,500 range, you could probably start selling at around $67 a month. If you're selling at $3,500 and up, you can probably sell at about $100 a month or more, depending on what you're providing. And again, this would be for website hosting, backups, WordPress updates, and security. My typical website care plan starts at $100 a month and goes up depending if the client wants WordPress content updates as well. But I sell a $100 a month plan all day long. It's a pretty easy sell at the end of as an add-on to a website design project. So there's just some, again, these are guidelines. There's no hard and fast rule here, but this will at least give you a place to start. Now, how do you sell these things? Once you've got your website care plan put together, once you've got it priced at a point where you think you can sell it, how then do you actually go through the process to sell it? Because most of us are not naturally born salespeople. If you're a great web developer and you have the gene for web development, right, or the mental wiring for web development, you probably do not have the mental wiring to be an excellent salesperson, because those two things rarely reside in the same person. If you're one of the rare unicorns that has both, then you are awesome and you're ahead of the game. But most of us who are good at web design are not good at selling. I mean, if I were to ask you which of these two turtles most resembles you when it comes to sales, which would it be? For most of us, it would probably be the one on the right. And for many of us, when we think of the word sales, it has a negative connotation. If sales is manipulative. You've got to twist people's arms and talk them into something they don't want. Or it's annoying. You have to just keep bothering people until finally they listen to you. Or it's scary. It's terrible to have people say no to you when you want them to buy something. Sales is a real challenge for most of us. So how do you get around the corner of sales? Have you ever heard of this show called The Expanse? The Expanse is, it's on Amazon Prime right now, I believe, but it's actually a sci-fi channel show, and it's one of the best shows I've seen in a long time. It's a future. It's about Earth in the future, and Earth and now a Mars that has been colonized by Earth are at odds over resources in the asteroid belt. And there's this mystery that starts with a woman who's disappeared, and it leads into this big, huge intercontinental galaxy war potential between Earth and Mars. And it's really well done. The story is good. The acting is good. Even the production value is good. The sets look phenomenal. So if you've never seen The Expanse, I would suggest that you watch it. Now, how many of you just realized I was selling The Expanse to you? Did you feel like it was sales? Or did you feel like somebody was just explaining something that they found value in? Because really, I was selling The Expanse to you. And when it comes to selling care plans, the key is education. When you turn sales on its head and you stop trying to talk people into something that they don't need, and you're simply teaching them about something they do need, selling becomes a lot more easier for people like us. The technical term is consultative sales, and you can read, there's a lot written about that. But what I found over the years is that the key to selling website care plans is education. Your clients need to understand the importance of quality hosting, ongoing backups, consistent updates, and reliable security. Really, all those things are important to a WordPress site, right? They're critical. Every WordPress site needs all four of those things, because if it doesn't have those, then bad things are eventually going to happen. So our job as part of being a WordPress professional is to educate our clients on the need for good quality WordPress management. Now, here's the way I usually do it. When I'm talking to my clients about the reason I build sites on WordPress, there are three big selling points. The first is, look, it's your website. You own it. It's yours. It's not beholden to any third-party platform. It's yours. Not only that, but it's easy to use, and it's infinitely expandable. WordPress powers 30% of the internet. If there's something you need your website to do, somebody else has already done it, and there's probably a plugin out there already to do it. I've never found anything yet that I can't do with WordPress. So there's a huge, huge value in going with WordPress. WordPress is great. However, there are also some challenges with WordPress, and there's a few reasons why WordPress is not so great. Now, I mentioned earlier that WordPress is 30% of the internet right now. 30% of the internet. That's incredible. But that also means that it's a huge target for hackers. WordPress, having such a large market share, has a big target on its back. So therefore, it needs to be backed up, updated, and kept secure. Because if you don't, things can go wrong. Sometimes when plugins update, things go wrong. So as great as WordPress is, you need to have somebody watching your back. So that's why we offer a WordPress management plan. Now, we talked about the key to selling care plans is education. And early on, when I was first putting these ideas together, I used to try to sell the care plans when the website was ready to launch. Thank you for building the website, Mr. and Mrs. Client. We're ready to launch. Oh, by the way, in order to keep this site working well and secure, you really need to have a WordPress care plan where I'm updating the software and doing backups and maintenance and updates. And, you really need that in order for the site to stay secure. And it never worked. I struggled for the first several months trying to sell care plans right when the site was going live. And I realized that I was doing the education at the wrong point in the process. Education needs to start at the consultation. So from the very first conversation I have with the client, in that initial client consultation, I'm talking about the need for website management. It becomes part of the original conversation. It's in the proposal. And so when we go live, there are no surprises. It's factored into the overall cost of doing business. Not only is there a dollar figure to build the website, there's also a dollar figure ongoing every month to manage the website. So education is the key, but it has to start at the initial conversation. Otherwise, your client will feel manipulated if you wait until the end of the project. Now, we have a webinar next week that I'll have a slide for in a little bit, where I'm actually going to give you a strategy on how to manage that initial client consultation. It's a process that I use, and using that process, I close over 90% of the proposals that I write. And we're going to do that next week. But part of that process is this education about the care plan at the initial client consultation. And here's what I do. I give the client options. How do you want to handle the management of your website? Number one, you can do nothing. If you don't have the website under some sort of maintenance or management, eventually something is going to break or you're going to be hacked, and that's not good. So that's an option, but it's not a good option. Option number two is do it yourself. We'll teach you how to keep your website updated. We'll factor that in as part of the proposal and training time to show you how to make updates, how to make backups, how to do it all yourself. We will do that for you. Or, number three, we'll do it for you. We offer a suite of ongoing services to keep your website safe and working properly. Guess which one the clients usually charge? Number three. That's the ones they usually choose. If they're thinking about doing it themselves, this is what I ask them. Are you sure that's something that you or an employee can do regularly? Whose responsibility is that going to be? And can they be trusted to do it regularly? Because it must be done on a regular basis. And by the way, how many times do you hit later when an update pops up to be installed on your computer? Because that's well and good on your computer, but you can't do that on your website. You can't delay the updates on your website. Those need to be patched as soon as possible because it's out there on the internet and it could be potentially vulnerable if you don't run those updates. So maybe the client has an IT guy in-house that can do this regularly and that can just be part of his or her job. Maybe so, and maybe that's a good fit. That's fine. But it's much better, and what I find my clients, that they are happy to pay a regular monthly fee just not to have to worry about it. It's a peace of mind investment for them to spend $100 a month to make sure that the website is always going to work, and if it breaks, they have one person to call, and that's me. Now, it's possible that you're listening to this today and you have this response. Uh-oh, I've been doing all this for free. I've been doing the website updates for free. What do I do now? And I hear this so often. You build a WordPress website for somebody and then you just kind of manage the updates yourself and you're not charging the client for it. It's time to make the transition from free to paid. And here's a 4-step process to do that. First of all, again, it starts with education. You've got to explain to the client what you've been doing for them and why that's important. And sometimes that's a complicated conversation, but you have to sit down with them and just say, look, Since we launched your website 6 months ago, every single week, I've been going in and making sure your website was up to date. Every day or every few days or however often you do it, I've been making a backup of your site so that just in case something breaks, we have a backup. This is what I've been doing, and it's incredibly important. And number two, I can't keep doing this for free. My business is growing, and I've been doing it for free to this point, but I cannot continue to manage your site and do all these things for you at no cost. And then give them options. You can either do it yourself, and I'll show you how, or here's some services where we will do this for you at a certain fee each month. But the key is number 4. You've got to set a firm date when your free update services will stop, and the client needs to understand that. If we don't, in 10 days or 2 weeks or next month or whatever you decide, we're going to stop doing this for free. We just can't continue working for free anymore. So there's a pretty simple process to make that transition from having done this for free to starting to get a little bit of income in for doing updates. And it may be that some of these clients you're doing for free right now, you may need to ease them into a care plan. So maybe it's a little bit less cost at the beginning, but just make sure you factor in, okay, for the first 6 months, we'll do it for $29 a month. After that, it'll be $49 a month, or however you want to price that. Ease them into the care plan, but stop doing the work for free. Because as your business grows, there's no way you'll be able to maintain that. All right, as we start to wrap up, we'll do a little bit of Q&A at the end if there's any questions lingering, but I really want to encourage you and inspire you with the difference that recurring income can make to your life. Because the ultimate goal in all of this is 2 very important things. First of all, to expand recurring income. Now, we've been talking about that this whole session. What do I do to build recurring income in my business? I can offer services. I can start with a care plan. I can do lots of other things to get monthly service dollars coming into my account. And that's critical. You got to do that. But another piece of this is reducing recurring expenses. Getting out of debt. Not signing up for as many things as maybe you need, that you have right now. A lot of us sign up for every new shiny tool that comes along, and we end up paying $19 a month 20 different times, and all of a sudden we're spending a lot of money. So if you'll start to reduce your recurring expenses, how much it actually takes you to live and operate your business, and you start to expand your recurring income, here's what can happen. As the piece of the pie that is recurring revenue services starts to increase, and it starts to decrease the amount of money you actually have to live, you can start paying your salary from recurring revenue. And this is the goal, to cover your critical expenses with recurring income. So if you can lower the amount that it actually costs you to live, and you can start to pay yourself that amount from your business, and that money is covered by recurring services, this is transformational to your business. Think about that. How would it change your business if every month you knew that you were paid already just from the mailbox money that's coming in? From the money that's coming in every month regardless from recurring services. And you didn't have to sell a single website to keep the lights on. How would that change your business? Would it keep you from taking bad clients just because you had to have the money? Would it give you the confidence to maybe start to raise your prices on projects a little bit? Would it deliver you from the stress of worrying about money all the time? How would it change your business, and how would it change your life? Because as soon as I started paying myself from recurring revenue, and the stress of having to sell and push projects through the pipeline just to keep the lights on, when that was removed from me, it was transformational. And I want to encourage you to start moving in that direction. It doesn't happen overnight. It's little by little. And every month, a little more recurring revenue comes in and a little more recurring expenses are gotten rid of until you get to the point where you can pay yourself from that recurring revenue. It will absolutely transform your business. That's why I say recurring revenue is the foundation of a successful business, WordPress freelance business. It's virtually impossible to survive without it. Now, we're about to take some questions. If there are any that are lingering, I'll be happy to stay around as long as questions are being asked. But I do want to let you know, as I mentioned earlier, that 1 week from today, Thursday, April the 26th at 11 a.m. Central Time, I'm going to have a second webinar with Liquid Web called The Scope Strategy, Mastering the Client Consultation. And what I'm going to talk about in this webinar next week is a strategy that you can follow. It's based on the acronym SCOPE. It's a 5-step process to help you manage a client consultation and help you keep things on track and make sure everything gets covered that is covered. And it will help you sharpen your ability to close deals, I promise. It's the same strategy I use every single time, and I'll be walking you through that 11 o'clock a.m. Central Time, Thursday, April 26th. Now, if you have registered for this webinar, they'll give you an email as well with the link to sign up for that, so don't worry about that. You'll get that in your email tomorrow. Okay, so time for any last Q&A. I appreciate being with you for the last hour. If this has been helpful to you, tweet at me at Nathan Ingram, and then also at Liquid Web, #recurring income. Would love to hear from you if this has been helpful to you. So there's a question in the chat. Actually, a couple of questions have popped in about a recording of today's webinar. Absolutely. There's some technical things that have to happen on the back end to get that video rendered and uploaded and all that. But there'll be a email to you tomorrow that will have the link to view the replay. It'll also have the link to sign up for next week's webinar. So thanks for those questions. Any more questions on recurring revenue or anything else? We'll hang around for a couple of minutes here. You can drop those questions in the question area of the GoToWebinar control panel. All right, looks like we may, appreciate that. Thanks for the encouragement there. Awesome. And hopefully you guys will be back next week as well. So I think we'll wrap it up today. I think we've hit all the questions along the way. Thanks again for hanging out with me for the last hour, and I hope that you've been inspired to start building recurring income in your business. Liquid Web is the perfect partner to start building that website care plan with hosting at the foundation.